What's up, guys? I'm BTC. A brand new Overwatch patch today with a bunch of buffs and nerfs. Before that, though, Blizzard did say that they're not going to be doing Blizzcon later this year, which really isn't much of a surprise because we already had one earlier this year. They did say that they're going to be doing something early next year, so really it just looks like they're moving around the days for it, right? Rather than having it at the end of every year in November, they're just going to have it at the beginning of the year instead. I don't know if the next one is going to be in person or online. I guess we'll find out as we get closer to the event. All right, let's move on to the patch changes and all the hero balance updates. So the first character is going to be Baptiste. First of all, keep in mind that all of these are in the experimental mode, which means they're not going to affect quick player competitive just yet, though all of these changes will probably get pushed through the normal modes in about a week or so. So Baptiste is getting a nerf, except it is not going to be to that thing. It is to the exo boots. Instead of taking 0.7 seconds to fully charge the exo boots, it is now going to take 1 second to charge the exo boots. I don't think that this was exactly a change that Baptiste needed, but Blizzard believed that it was a little too easy for him to escape certain characters, so they wanted to nerf it, and that's what happened. Okay. Next is McCree, who is getting a couple of nerfs. So the first thing is with the time that it takes for his reload. Originally, McCree had a 1.5 second reload time, just like all the other characters in the game, with a couple of exceptions. Most of the characters in the game have a 1.5 second reload. What they did recently was they had buffed it so that it only took 1.2 seconds, but now they're reverting that. So now it's going back to 1.5 seconds, which means that the experimental mode McCree is going to reload a little bit slower than he does currently in the live version of the game. The other thing that they nerfed for McCree was the roll. Now it's going to have a distance that was reduced by 20%. So it's going to take you a little bit longer to reload, and you also don't travel as far with the roll. So those are both of the nerfs for McCree. Next up is going to be Moira, who is getting a buff, which is going to be for her kind of coalescence. It's also for her main healing. Basically, what's going to happen is now whenever you activate your ultimate, your healing, the little resource meter, will recharge 3 times faster whenever you're using your ultimate. Essentially, the point of this is to make it so that when your ultimate is over, you will have full healing charge so that you can go back to healing. That's basically what they want you to do. Because a lot of ultimates in the game have an automatic kind of free reload when the ultimate is over, you know, whether it's Roadhog or Genji or whoever. So this kind of brings Moira into balance with all of the other characters in the game, where when your ultimate is over, you get full ammo. Or in this case, for Moira, you have full healing resource, which makes sense. Next up is going to be Reaper. I'm sure some people are really not going to like this one. Reaper is getting a buff. Lifesteal was increased from 30% up to 35%. I don't really know if this was a good idea. In fact, I'm pretty certain it wasn't a good idea, because right now Reaper is essentially garbage at the upper bracket, because just the way the character is. Like, Reaper's garbage in the upper bracket most of the time. However, in the lower bracket, Reaper is still a pretty solid character to use, and having him increase the lifesteal is not going to change anything for the upper bracket. He's still going to be a garbage character, but it is going to make him a little bit better for the lower bracket, making him even more of kind of a problem to deal with in some situations for the lower bracket players. This is not a good change at all in any way, shape, form, or fashion. It doesn't improve the character for the upper bracket, and it just makes the character more difficult to deal with in the lower bracket. So this is just a bad change all around for Reaper, getting a lifesteal increase from 30% up to 35%. Next up is Zarya, who's getting a pretty significant damage nerf. This is going to be for the lower end of her beam. So in the current live version of the game, the beam will start at 95, and then once you build up your charge, it goes up to 170 damage. However, in the experimental mode, it will start at 75 and go up to 170. So the top is still going to be the same at 170, but the bottom is much, much lower. So it's 75 instead of 95, you're losing 20 damage, which means that you're going to have to build somewhere between 12 to 20% of your damage charge just to get it back to where it was before, just to get the, you know, the base amount that we had before of 95. So if you're a really good Zarya player and you have consistent high damage from, you know, good barrier control and that sort of thing, then you're pretty much going to be doing the same amount of damage for the most part, because once you have 70, 80, 90, 100% of your damage charged, you're going to be roughly doing the same amount of damage that you were before. But if you are not very good at managing the bubbles and you are constantly at a lower charge, then you're going to be doing way, way, way less damage than before. Even the best players in the world are still going to start with low charge, and there's still going to be times when they have a difficult time building that charge, which means that everyone, whether you're in the lower bracket or the upper bracket, everyone is still going to be doing less damage with Zarya overall, but it's now going to be even more important to keep that high charge and maintain it. I mean, it was always important, but now it's going to be even more important because the difference is even bigger between the bottom and the top. So, there you go. Pretty significant change to Zarya. But those are going to be all of the changes that we got in the experimental mode. What do you guys think about them? Let me know down below. A big thanks to all the Paragons and other channel members for all your support. If you'd like to become one and grab some cool rewards, click the join button down below. Also, if you enjoyed the video, drop a like before you leave. And remember, always, always blame the controller because it's never your fault.